Okay, let's start with a number, 6. Now, you might be thinking, 6, what's so special about that? Well, trust me, this single digit, it points to something huge, a really historic shift happening in one of the most important legal systems on the planet.
All right, so what's the deal with the number 6? It's the number of foreign chief justices who flew in for the swearing in of India's brand new top judge. Now, this is a big deal. Why? Because it's never happened before. It tells you that the world is really starting to pay attention to India's Supreme Court. Its influence is growing and everyone's watching.
And that's exactly what this is all about. We're going to break down this huge leadership change at the very top of India's judiciary. A new era is beginning as Justice Surya Kant takes the helm as the 53rd Chief Justice of India.
So, let's set the scene. The big day was November 24th, 2025, at the Rashtrapati Bhavan. That's the presidential palace in New Delhi. But listen, this wasn't just some stuffy, routine handover. Oh no, this was a major event, one with serious implications for where India is headed, both at home and on the world stage.
You know, sometimes the guest list tells you everything you need to know. Of course, you had India's top brass there, the president, the prime minister, but the real headline, those 6 chief justices from other countries. That's what really stands out. It's like a neon sign flashing that India's Supreme Court is becoming a major player, a leading voice, especially for other democracies that are grappling with a lot of the same tough legal questions.
So to really get a handle on what to expect from Justice Kant, you've got to look at who he's taking over from, right? We need to understand the legacy he's inheriting from the outgoing Chief Justice, B.R. Gavai.
And right away, you see a huge contrast. Justice Gavai had this short 6-month term, but man, was it impactful. As the second Dalit Chief Justice, his focus was squarely on social diversity. Now you have Justice Kant coming in with a much longer runway, a full 15 months, and the expectation there, administrative stability. It's literally a shift from a lightning-fast sprint to a marathon.
And even though his time was short, Justice Gavai left a powerful legacy. He really pushed for more diversity in who gets to be a judge. And he was behind a landmark ruling against what's known as bulldozer justice. You know, that really controversial practice of demolishing someone's home just because they've been accused of a crime, sometimes without even a trial. He put a stop to that.
Okay, so what about the new chief? Who is Justice Surya Kant? Well, his story is pretty inspiring. He doesn't come from a long line of judges or anything. His is a story of a steady climb, starting from a middle-class family in Haryana. It's all built on decades of just plain old hard work and merit.
And you can see that journey right here. It spans 4 decades. He started out practicing in a local district court, then became the youngest ever advocate general for his state. From there, he was elevated to the Supreme Court in 2019. And now, well, now he's at the very top, the highest judicial office in the entire country.
But let's be real. The best way to get to know a judge is to look at their decisions, right? And when you look at Justice Kant's record, it's fascinating. You see this mix of sticking to the constitutional rulebook, but also pushing for some really progressive social changes.
For instance, he was on the bench for one of the biggest cases in modern Indian history. Remember the decision to revoke Article 370? The one that gave special status to Jammu and Kashmir? It was incredibly controversial, and he was part of the court that upheld the government's move.
But then, on the flip side, he was also on the bench that basically hit pause on the old colonial-era sedition law. This was a huge win for free speech advocates because it stopped the government from using this law, which many saw as just a tool to shut people up.
And this really gets to the heart of his approach: balance and accountability. Take this quote right here. It's from the Pegasus spyware case. His bench ordered a probe into whether the government was spying on its own citizens, and he said this, making it crystal clear that national security can't just be a magic phrase the government uses to avoid answering tough questions. And his push for progress isn't just about big national issues. He's looking at the legal profession itself. He's a big advocate for gender justice, so much so that he directed that a full third of all leadership roles in bar associations, the groups that represent lawyers, have to be reserved for women.
So, you've got a long-term, a strong track record. That's all great, but let's not kid ourselves. The new Chief Justice is walking into a job with some absolutely massive challenges waiting for him on day one. Remember how we started with the number 6? Well, now I want you to think about another number, 90,000. And this isn't just a big number. It represents probably the single biggest challenge the entire Indian judiciary is facing right now.
That's right, 90,000. That's how many cases are just sitting there, waiting to be heard by the Supreme Court. It's a staggering backlog. And you have to remember, this isn't just a statistic. Each one of those cases is a person, a family, waiting for justice. How he deals with this mountain of cases is going to define his entire time as Chief Justice.
And he's not going in blind. He's laid out a pretty clear three-part plan of attack. First, tackle that backlog head-on with smarter case management. Second, bring the courts into the 21st century by using tech like AI to speed things up. And third, make sure the really big, important constitutional cases get the attention they deserve and don't just get buried in paperwork.
So here's where we're left, a 15-month term. That's a rare gift. It's a real window of opportunity to make deep, lasting changes. Justice Kant has the time, and he seems to have a solid plan. But the big question, the one we're all asking, is this. With so much pressure and a literal mountain of cases, can one person really reshape an entire institution? Can he really turn the tide? I guess we're all about to find out.